The White House is announcing new measures today to help battle COVID-19 as the winter season gets underway. And this comes as the U.S. confirms its first case of the newly discovered Omicron variant. According to health officials, the first case was detected in Northern California, where the individual had recently returned from a trip to South Africa. So Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on this. Thanks for joining us this morning, Nancy. What new measures to help curb the spread of this variant is the president expected to announce today?
Well, there's a whole host of new policies that he's going to unveil at the National Institutes of Health this afternoon, Anne-Marie, and they're meant to slow the transmission of the disease, to reduce the number of COVID cases in the skies, to make it cheaper to get tested, to encourage boosters and vaccinations, and on and on. So many different new policies that I actually wrote them all down so that I wouldn't forget any of the big ones. So first of all, there's going to be this new booster shot campaign, just getting the word out to people who have already been vaccinated but are now eligible to get boosted, that it's available to them and that they really need to go ahead and go do it now. So pharmacies will have extended hours. People will get texts or calls or emails from those pharmacies reminding them that they are now eligible to go ahead and get their booster shot. The AARP is even going to be involved in letting seniors know that this is something that is now available to them. There are going to be new family vaccination clinics. You know, now that everyone 5 and up can get vaccinated, the whole family can head over to a family vaccination clinic to go get a vaccination or a booster. This is a big one. Health insurers are now going to be required to cover the cost of at-home tests. As anyone knows who's gone to a pharmacy to pick up an at-home test, they're very expensive here in the United States, more expensive here than they are abroad. Sometimes it can be $25 or $30 for a single at-home test. And of course, if you suspect you have COVID, often you're taking more than one test. So the costs can really pile up quickly. Now, health insurers will be required to cover 100% of the cost of those tests. There are going to be new testing requirements for international travelers. This is a big one. Anne-Marie, right now, the rule is you've got to have a negative test within 72 hours of getting on the plane to come to the U.S. That is going to shrink to 1 day by next week. So that is a big change for people. And then finally, another big one, this transit mask mandate. The requirement that you wear masks on mass transit is going to be extended. It was supposed to recede in January. Now that mask mandate is going to stay in effect until at least mid-March.
So a couple of questions. When is all of this expected to kick in? And in regards to the international travelers testing, are there any sort of stipulations as to what kind of tests they have to, submit to? Because, different countries might have different tests.
Right. Those are some of the details we're still awaiting from the administration. But, that isn't the only challenge. It is an important one. Up until now, you've been able to get, depending on where you're from, an antigen test, a PCR test. Sometimes overseas, it can be difficult, for example, to get those tests on a weekend. And the fact that you had 72 hours was kind of a buffer to that situation. Now, with only 24 hours, that could prove to be logistically challenging for some travelers, particularly travelers who already have their tickets to come here. And that's supposed to go into effect next week at the earliest. The rollout for some of these other policies is staggered. I mean, when it comes to pharmacies, for example, that's the kind of thing that can happen right away. Pharmacies are already providing booster shots. The White House says those pharmacies are going to have additional hours, additional appointments. That's the kind of thing that can kick in right away. Some things are already in effect, like the transit mask mandate. So we're still waiting to see, for instance, how onerous it will be for individuals to get reimbursed from their health insurers for at-home test kits. Is it the kind of thing that they need to, buy it and then submit the receipts to their insurance company? Those are the kinds of details that we're awaiting from the administration.
So part of the White House's plan also includes deploying COVID emergency response teams to help out hospitals and you mentioned launching the family vaccination clinics. How's this going to get paid for? Where's the funding coming from?
The funding was already allocated months ago in the CARES Act. The administration has always said that having these surge teams was very important. What they're now saying, this is not so much of a new policy. They've already had surge teams in place to go to hospitals in areas that are hard hit by COVID. And basically what they're saying is that they're going to increase the number of teams going to those areas. Part of the reason that you're sort of, looking at this across the board approach to COVID is because no one really knows how bad this winter is going to be. It was only a few months ago in the summer that the president was declaring independence from the virus and saying, the nation is opening back up. Now things are in a much more unpredictable state because you've got an unpredictable new variant. No one knows yet how responsive the Omicron variant is to the current batch of vaccinations. No one knows whether we'll need an Omicron-specific booster. No one knows whether it's more transmissible, whether it causes more virulence. All of these questions are unanswered right now. And so this is basically the White House saying, okay, well, we'll do everything that we have the power to do right now. And then if we have to dial back down the road, that's always possible.
Yeah. Health officials, apparently, some of them are mulling over the possible necessity for an Omicron-specific booster. What do we know about that? And, what are the recommendations? Should we get a booster now? Or if there's going to be booster 2.0 coming up, should we wait for that one?
Dr. Anthony Fauci was very clear when asked about that very question yesterday. He said, do not wait to see if there's going to be an Omicron booster that is needed, that is produced. That is months down the road. If you are eligible for a booster, go ahead and get it right now. He said there are some early signs that this variant is pretty responsive to the current vaccines. But that's something that is being discussed between the administration and the big vaccine companies, because if they need to produce a booster that is more responsive to this particular variant, they may need a few months lead time to do it. There have been some mixed messages, frankly, from the vaccine makers. We heard a note of alarm from Moderna's CEO the other day saying, I'm talking to scientists who say this is going to be really bad. It looks like the vaccines have reduced potency when it comes to this variant. And then you have the head of Pfizer saying exactly the opposite. No need to panic. Things are probably going to be fine. And so that is sort of contributing to the uncertainty both here in Washington and around the country about what exactly this variant is going to mean for the population.
Of course. Nancy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.